After a period of allowing men to center my entire life, I took a break from dating. I, went on my celibacy journey. I was all about me, until up until recently. Recently went through sort of a breakup, and we weren't together, you guys. We weren't even in a situationship. We were just really, really good friends who were kind of like dancing around the idea of maybe one day in the near future or further future us becoming more romantic. We started opening conversations about, intimacy. We started, opening conversations about his past, my past. And granted, you guys, I've learned my lesson a long time ago with opening too much up with men and oversharing and things like that. I only gave him I only let him in as much as I thought was okay, because I know how the game works. You never let them know every single thing. You give them just enough for them to feel as if that you are being a little open with them, but you don't give them everything, especially like early on or even like mid on, you guys. And honestly, I'm very, very proud of how I handled this entire relationship, because we started off as friends, and I know now, like, starting off as friends and like really building that connection and not being so quick to jump into physical things, even something simple like holding hands or something like that, really does make a difference, And this is the first time in any of my romantic situations with men that it actually tickled my heart a little bit. Okay, I wouldn't say like it just scratched my heart a little bit, my cold heart, but yeah, so we were going out on dates, you guys. He was taking me here, he was taking me there, opening doors, doing all the right things. And then after months went by, I was throwing a little get together for my birthday that passed last month. I think that was last month. What is it, August? Yeah, last month. I'm a July baby. Leos, where you at? Yeah. But yeah, so he came over, he met some of my family, and y'all, I don't let anybody meet my family because I feel like, why you need to do that? But he met my family. Everybody meshed really, really good, you guys. Everybody was talking. He brought his sister over. Everybody was vibing. Everybody was having fun. Everybody was drinking, playing games. It was just a good time. And for the first time ever, I was just like, okay, he kind of fits. Like, I could do this. So, he wasn't perfect, but outside of everything else, if we just focused on me, him, I felt like we just had a good vibe and we understood each other. And on a soul level, I just feel like I understood him, saw him, so it was a good little vibe or whatever. But as much as we did have this really, really, very good vibe, I felt like I was still picking up on red flags that I particularly were not only kind of triggering me from past situationships I had. He reminded me a lot of one of my past people that, yes, we had a good connection, but same thing, his outlooks on life, just the ignorance really got in the way of us. But yeah, he started to remind me of a past situation, and I'm just like, okay, he started to remind me of this person. What do we do with that? So I started thinking, although he does remind you of this person to some degree, he also the complete opposite at the same time. I love when you present a problem, whether that you just be venting or they just notice it themselves and they fix it. For instance, he noticed that every time I would drive, I would hold my fingers up while I'm driving and just drive like this with my phone GPS in my hand. And that's because a couple of weeks prior, I broke my little phone holder from a car. He just bought me one. He sent one to my house via Amazon, and he sent me a text please set up this GPS so your poor little fingers won't be straining every time you drive somewhere. So I'm just like, I love that. And then another time, we were on the phone, and told him, I don't know, it's hard for me to keep up my hydration. I feel like I'm always dehydrated. And he was just like, okay, let me get you this Stanley. So he sent a Stanley to my house for me to keep up with my fluid intake. And I'm just like, I love that. Every time I would present a problem, if it was in his means to solve it, he would. And that is something I love, okay? And another thing, whenever we're out, the bill comes, he got it. No question about it. He wouldn't even let me touch a bill, you know what I'm I'm saying? And I genuinely love that as well. But you know, at the same time, there were like some red flags I started to pick up on. I want a masculine that is comfortable in their masculinity to the point where they don't have to say anything off the wall, or they don't have to continuously prove, you know, themselves. They're just so comfortable and confident with themselves that it's just like a given, you know? And the same insecurities I noticed in him, I noticed in a past partner, and I was just like, do I really want to repeat this same thing with a masculine? He is confident, don't get me wrong, but he still has these underlying insecurities when it comes to like our connection and me, you know? So I don't, in the back of my head, I was just like treading very lightly because I know how these type of men operate. But at the same time, it was just like we started off as friends, so like it really was no pressure for me to make a decision on anything because we weren't even at that level yet. Fast forward, you know, a couple of like months and stuff like this, you know, we were going at a very slow but steady pace, you guys, and that was my first time being in a romantic, not a romantic, but just being in like a I don't even know what to call it, being in like a sort of relationship with a man that started off like very, very slow and, you know, just naturally progressed. Well, and naturally progressed to a point where we're staying up on the phone late night, just chatting, and we're not even meaning to. We're just like chatting. He wrecked his car, you know, not too long ago. So like I would always go to his place, pick him up. He would pay for gas, and we would just stay in my car after we do whatever we were doing around town. I would drive him home. We would just stay in the parking lot in his apartment where he stayed at. And just talk. And then we look at the time. I'm just like, oh my gosh, it is 5 a.m. Get out of my car. Like, leave me alone, go. Just like stuff like that, cutesy stuff like that. And then it's funny because I was reading this, I came across this TikTok, which is like, be careful about falling, you know, talking to a man on the phone late night because something about some type of hormone releases. And if you talk to this man right before you're going to sleep, it releases a bonding hormone, And I was just like, it's too late. Anyways, it got to a point that we started to kind of like, and I feel like I'm not trying to put the blame on him or anything like that because I take responsibility as well, because I feel like at a certain point, like I was open to the idea of maybe making it romantic, even though I valued our friendship so bad and I knew making it romantic may mess up things. I knew that, and we actually talked about that as well. But it was just naturally heading that way. This is a man, like I forgot to mention also, this is a guy that I've known since middle school, and you know, we've been, you know, conversating on and off for a while and things like that. And he actually was my first kiss in middle school in 8th grade, summer of 8th grade. I remember it like it was yesterday. Okay, so like it's like I know him and I've known of him, and even though I haven't known him for those entire years, like we didn't stay in contact for those entire years, I feel like I got a very good hold of like his energy and like him on a spiritual level, if that makes sense. You know, as we're opening these conversations of intimacy and things like that, I notice every time we open these conversations of intimacy, I am getting very small hints of like toxic masculinity mixed in, and I'm also getting hints of like kind of aggression and like I can't really explain it to you guys, but no, I wasn't getting a good feeling from it. It seemed like he wasn't wanting to partake in intimacy with me for like the right reasons. It seemed like it was just going to take a scratch at his ego maybe, or I don't know, it just didn't seem right. I was just kind of like reading between the lines. It's not anything he said like totally like that can be interpreted as him being like toxic, but it was just little hints of like energy that I was picking up on. So it gets to a point where, like, these topics are coming up pretty frequently and things like that. And sometimes it's him, sometimes it's me, sometimes it's just like not none of us. It just comes up. And so I remember one time after having a very good day, you guys, we had a movie night. And mind you guys, he's only been to my place 2 times. One for my birthday party, which it was numerous people in the house, and then two for a movie night where it was numerous people in the house as well. So we had a movie night. We watched all these love movies. We watched a lot of Black films, including ATL in the Woods that I've never seen before. You guys, don't get on my case. And then I showed him The Notebook, which is one of my favorite movies. And, I was seeing him getting kind of like choked up, and it was just like cute to see, his reactions to some and his point of view on some of the love stories that we were watching. So like it was a good day. And then I ended up driving him home. And so after I drove him home, I was expecting him to just get out, but we again stayed in the car and stayed up to like 5 in the morning, just talking. And during that talk in the car, he did a few things that I'm kind of like red flaggy about. But then again, like in the moment, I kind of overlooked it just because I was just having a good time all together, if that makes sense. So, he gets out the car, he goes inside, I drive back home. The next day we get on the phone and like a topic of, intimacy comes up again. And, then we start like kind of butting heads a little bit. And I was like, interesting, like we're good when these topics don't come out, but once it does, it seems like we're kind of like not even arguing, it's just like our energy is like at a standoff, if that makes sense. I don't know how to put this into words, but just know it was more energetic than anything else. And so then, I kind of get off the phone because I don't like where the conversation is heading. And then he texts me later on that night, sending me apartments and things like that, because I am in the process of moving, you guys. And so another thing I really liked that he did is like, he was just like, oh, you still haven't found a place? Let me go ahead and look. Which city and, are you looking at? Because I was looking at numerous cities. And so he was just sending me all these listings and stuff like that, asking me what my necessities were for an apartment and just sending me, like he was genuinely like interested in my next steps of life and sending me all this stuff. And part of me is like, this may be a tactic, but I feel like a man who really truly didn't care wouldn't take that much time and wouldn't be spending as much resources, such as time, money on me if he didn't genuinely care. And that's the thing, you guys, I genuinely think he cares about me and vice versa, but it's just like those boyish ways and those toxic masculinity ways, like I just can't put up with in this point in my life. Like I could work with it and things like that, but that's not something I'm willing to do at this point. So, he's sending me all these apartments. I'm thanking him for looking. I'm looking into the links that he's sending me. And then then we start flirting a little bit over text. And, it's just some lighthearted flirting, you guys. And then I say something flirty, he says something back. And I'm thinking that we're just going to keep this thing going. And then instead of saying something playful and flirty, he basically sends me a text that is so out of topic. And I'm not going to repeat it because it is personal, but it's some hints of like, it was revolving around the idea of intimacy, but it was toxic. It was just nasty. It was low-key a jab at me. It was in a way it made me feel like he thought he had access to me in that way. And just because we've been talking about it doesn't mean that you have it yet, or if it's promised to you, or So what he said to me was totally out of pocket, so out of pocket that it took me literally hours to respond, because I was like, how to go about this? Should I A, call him and cuss him out? B, should I just ignore it? Or C, should I just block him right now? Okay, and like that's the thing about me, like I go on blocking sprees. Like I do not care. Like I think that's the avoidant in me. Like I don't care. Like I would like block, and I won't even tell you why I'm blocking you. And in some instances I think that's okay. I'm not even gonna lie, and that's just my opinion. But in this instance, we had been this is somebody I considered my friend above all else. This is somebody that I've gone on so many outings with. This is somebody that I stayed up late night talking to. We would just, this is somebody that, you know, we built a friendship first. So I was just like, let me get it off my chest of why I'm doing this, because what I didn't want to happen is him to think, you know, I played him or whatever. I made him have all these feelings for me just for me to like get my get back or something like that and block him. I didn't want him running around with that narrative. I wanted him to know exactly why I am going to take several steps back, you know. So I ended up, because I needed some advice, so I ended up talking to my sisters about it, and they agreed what he said was totally out of pocket, and they don't even see how the conversation, you know, took that much of a turn. And so yeah, I was just like, thank you, because like sometimes I do be tripping. Not very rarely do I trip, but I do be tripping sometimes. And then to get validation, like, no, what he said was like out of pocket, I was like, bet. And so, you know, I got different advice on how to handle it, but how I wanted to handle it, what was itching in my soul how to handle it, was to call him. And I knew he was asleep. And that's the thing, you sent that text. Usually if I don't respond, he will at least be like, good night. You know, you didn't respond, but I just wanted to say good night or something like that. The fact that he fell asleep, I'm like, oh, so you really sleeping peacefully while I'm over here just like about to crash out. You over here sleeping peacefully like a little newborn baby boy, okay? No, wake up right now. I'm finna stress you out too. Yeah, let's get into it. So, I call him up. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. I don't care. Do I care? No. I call him up. I was just like, listen, like, I didn't appreciate that last text you sent me. I'm very calm and collected, okay? Even though, like, I wasn't even mad. I was just like, yeah, let's get into it. Let's get into it. Like, I was hype. I was like, yeah. And I basically told him, you know, it was just out of pocket, and I'm not sure how the conversation even led like that. And he was just like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, I just woke up. I don't. Let me stop. So yeah, he's like saying he's sorry, he's apologizing and stuff like that. I'm trying to make my peace and say my piece and then hang up. But like he is saying things to like keep me off on the phone and things like that. I end up getting off the phone with him. I accept his apology, but I'm still like, nah, because someone who actually cared about me, that would have never left their mouth, and they wouldn't have even been thinking about that or thinking to say that to me. So the fact that you said it to me and then went to sleep like everything's fine and dandy, that to me was a no. My man would never talk to me like that, and that's the daggone truth. All right. So yeah, I get off the phone with him. I put him on do not disturb. I wanted to block him, but he knows where I stays. So I felt like if I would have blocked him, he would have just pulled up. And you know, I put him on do not disturb. I went to sleep. Something in my spirit tells me to wake up and check his messages. So I wake up, I check his messages, and the last message he sent 10 minutes prior was, I'm on the way, please come outside to talk to me. So I said, on the way where? On the way where? Start hyperventilating. On the way where? On the way where? I check his location. He's 3 minutes up the road. I say, great. Part of me is like, no, don't come. But another part of me is like, actually, I would have wanted my future man to actually fight for me. So like, yeah, don't come, but at the same time, yeah, come, you know? So he pulls up, he Ubers here, he pulls up, he's outside. I'm seeing him outside because my window is right, has a front way view of him getting out the car and him just waiting around. So I'm just like, all right. So I go out there, we talk, but we're just running in circles. We're just running in circles, because he genuinely didn't understand why what he said hurt me so bad and why what he said was just not okay. He didn't understand. And granted, like, I know I woke him up out his sleep. He didn't even have time to like think about it. He's just on go mode, you know? So the last thing I said to him was, I feel like you're not understanding me, which I genuinely felt like he wasn't understanding me. And so he just puts his hands up and he was just like, I'm gonna get out of here. And then I was like, okay, because I'm not gonna like beg you to stay and beg someone to keep on talking if it's just going in circles. So I go back in the house, and then my sisters are waiting up for me because I told them where I was going. And so they were just like, wow, that was a short talk. I was like, I know, like it wasn't even productive. And then since it wasn't productive, I went back out there. I called him back. I was just like, I'm gonna give you, I said this in a nicer way that didn't seem like I'm gonna make, you better get on your knees and beg for it. Like I didn't want it to come off like that. So I was just like, yeah, like I feel like that wasn't a productive talk. So like if you want to come back over here, you know, I'm willing to like hear you out, and I'm ready to, you know, get the bottom of this. But he was just like, no, because you already made your mind up. And so I'm just like, but just because I made up my mind about us not going forward doesn't mean we can't get on into the bottom, because this is a learning experience for the both of us. So just because I said no to like whatever we were going to progress to doesn't mean that we can't get to the bottom of it. But he was just, you know. So he goes home. The next morning, I check my phone. He texts me basically wanting another conversation. We have that other conversation, and honestly, this went way better. We ended up on good terms. He genuinely said, you know, he understood now, like why what he said was not okay and why what he said may have triggered me. And you know, I appreciated him for coming forth and saying, you know, he was wrong, he apologized, and but unfortunately that was just one of my non-negotiables. Like I don't want a man who talks out the side of their neck, especially when we weren't even in a heated discussion. This was a normal discussion, and you're talking to me like you don't know me, and you're talking to me like I'm some bug on the street. Like put some respect on my name, you know what I'm saying? I am that, okay? And nobody's gonna make me feel like less than, okay? But anyways, yeah, it's just very like heartbreaking that, you know, it turned out the way it is, but it is so peculiar and things. Like I genuinely like him as a being, you know, and in my head I'm thinking maybe we should have just stayed friends. Maybe I shouldn't have let, you know, it progress to where it was. But at the same time, like this is a learning experience for the both of us, and I feel like we do have, you know, it is more than friends. So why keep it more than friends? I mean, why keep it at a friend level if it's more than friends? So anyways, you guys, even though it ended, you know, I felt like we ended off on such a good note that it was like the last thing we said to each other, which we had never said before. He was just like, I love you. And I was like, I love you too, actually. And then we got off the phone. And I'm just like, wait, where did that come from? It just felt so natural to say. And yeah, like just a good vibe or whatever. And then I went to sleep. And then when I woke up the next morning, I was itching to block him, and that's the avoidant me coming out again. So even though it ended up on a good note, like I still wanted to block him. And I blocked him, and then I unblocked him. I was just going through emotions, and then I had to sit with myself. I'm just like, y'all ended on a good note. He understands why what he said was wrong. You know, what is the point of blocking him? That makes no sense, you know? So this is a growing experience for me as well. You know, I'm not perfect as well. And I do tend to dwell into like my avoidant attachment styles when things go south and things like that. Because blocking is kind of like a cop out for me. I'm like, gotcha, you know, you thought, you know. But anyways, you guys, this was the first time ever like a breakup or like a separation from somebody that, you know, was kind of sort of hitting on that romantic side. Actually felt like a breakup. So like when I would watch movies on like breakups, I'm like, girl, get up out the bed and go to the club. But I see why now. Like I see why. It kind of sort of hurts a little bit, just a little bit, just a little bit. But yeah, going forward, like I know that a lot of men are on a lower state of consciousness because of the patriarchy. So like I understand it, but at the same time, I want someone who rises above that, and I want someone who sees through all the intricacies of this modern world to just be their truest authentic self, and to stop letting their past, and if your past is creeping in, get some therapy, please. And I need therapy as well, I ain't even gonna hold you. But and if you can't access therapy, there are so many resources online to delve into the inner mind and to delve into shadow work and things like that. You just need to know it, that you need that, and you need to chase it. No one can spoon feed you the growth you need to experience. And I'm not here to hold a man's hand to help them on their evolution. I'm not doing that because I still have a ways to go myself, and I want someone to facilitate a safe space for me to continue to grow. Yeah, I just know what my standards are, and like, even though I can have such a good vibe for someone, if they're not respecting those standards or not living up to that, unfortunately, I can't sit there and spoon feed you how to treat me. I can only show you by the whole I can only show you how I've been showing you, and if you don't catch the hint with that, I don't know, you're gonna have to leave. You need to leave. Yeah, so this was a very interesting experience for me because it showed me how much I've grown, because I feel like just a few years ago, I would have just like probably not even said anything. I would have been hurt over what he said, and then just probably changed the subject and tried to save face or whatever like that, or said something like, don't say that, and like been more a little like submissive, and like, I don't know, I just feel like that wouldn't have been the end all a few years back, and it definitely should be, and even though like I felt like I was highly connected to him, I still was able to let it go, and that the art of detachment is something that came through strong in this, okay? So I'm just very proud of myself how I handled this. And some people may view, and he made a good point. He was saying like, I can say one thing and that can end all. And I'm like, unfortunately, what you said did, and he was just like, after all, this, after all we built, and then I'm just like, because my man would not have talked to me like that. Going forward, I'm gonna continue to stand on business, and I'm gonna continue to know where my boundaries are, and to not let people overstep them. And yes, I am gonna take another break from dating, because I feel like it's like maybe I need to date another gender or something, because I don't know, it's just like I'm not ready for the shenanigans that come with dating a man. Like, I'm honestly good off of it, and even the good men have these like tendencies where you have to prove that you're not too easy. You have to send them on a wild goose chase. And granted, like, when a man really likes you, he automatically puts you in like this energy where it naturally folds like that. Like, I feel like I wasn't necessarily trying to be like something to chase. I wasn't trying to be like, I wasn't trying to be any type of way. I was just showing up naturally as myself. And because he actually liked me, I feel like he was more and more putting me into something he'd like to chase. So I feel like there is a sense of that, but I'm not going to continuously prove to a man like that I'm this and I'm that, and he continuously to test me and things like that, and test my way. I'm just good off of it. It honestly gives me a headache. I'm gonna take a little break here. I noticed when I was, going out with him every weekend, I wasn't, filming. And another reason why I wasn't filming a lot and haven't been posting on YouTube or any of my other socials is because of my job. But I recently left my job because I have something else that I'm doing in life. So that has freed up a lot of time. Breaking things off with him has freed up a lot of time. So hopefully I can delve back into myself and what I enjoy doing for myself, which is filming, editing, talking to the girls, okay? What else? We'll figure it out, okay? I haven't been dancing Okay, I haven't been reading. I haven't been doing my yoga. What have I been doing? You know, so I think everything happens for a reason, and it's just time for me to get back on my A game and time for me to get back into myself again. Not that I ever, you know, truly lost that, but I just think it's time to get back into myself, and that's okay. And sometimes to do that, you do have to let certain things go that are a little bit of a distraction, you know. So it just sucks, but at the same time, it happens. And I think it speaks volume that I couldn't even get on here and like bash him like this, that, and the third. Like, don't trust men. Da, da. I'm not even in that energy. I'm just more so like, dang, that is very disappointing that you felt the need to say that and felt the need to let toxic and the patriarchy seep into what we had. And that's just a shame that happened. But toodaloo type shit, you know, toodaloo. Toodaloo, that's what we're telling all the men now. Toodaloo. Okay, toodaloo. Toodaloo, baby. Toodaloo. Because I got stuff to do, okay? I got stuff to do. Toodaloo. Sometimes you just gotta say toodaloo to the doo-doo, you know, and just focus on yourself, you know. So that is where I'm at right now, and I hope this message reached someone that really needed to hear it. In all my 26 years, this was the first time I experienced something that almost felt like a heartbreak. So yeah, never again. I'm gonna tell you that right now. Never again. But you guys, I think that is it for today's video. I wasn't able to even film on my camera because for some reason, my camera no longer works. You know, and maybe that's for a reason because I edit on my phone, so I have to transfer files from my camera to my phone to edit on my phone. And files from my camera are larger than if I was to record on my phone. So I don't even think one video from my camera would have transferred over to my phone without me deleting like a whole bunch of videos. So maybe it's a reason why my camera don't work right now. Because I wouldn't have been able to transfer it to my phone anyways to film, to edit. So maybe it's a reason why, and maybe I was really meant to film this on my phone so I could edit very quickly and I could get this message out to someone who really needs to hear it. And yeah. I think that's all I have for you guys today. Remember, you know, continue to dwell into yourself no matter what type of relationship you're in or what is going on to your personal life. Just continue to build that relationship you have with yourself. So when everything else, you know, no matter what, you still got you, and you still got your certain things that you got going on, you know. Yeah, keep your head up. Everything happens for a reason. Everything is part of your evolution, and everything is everything all at once. If you like videos like this, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. You know the vibes, period. And don't forget to hit that bell notification to let you know when I post again. And without further ado, I'll see you in the next video.